Hey guys, Apoorva Pande here, and this video is about growth systems, how to use growth systems to take your company from maybe you're at 500K, a couple million a year, but to get to generating tens of millions of dollars a year. So let's get into it. So there's about 8 growth systems here, and one thing you got to know before we jump into it is in Silicon Valley that every major company that's grown really fast over the past, I think 5 years, maybe a decade now, has the structure called growth. Now, growth, it sounds like pretty normal, pretty vague, right? But in the Valley, the structure is very specific. It's de-siloing your marketing, your sales, and your product, your acquisition and your retention. It's de-siloing those things and having a through line and measuring throughput of your metrics to make sure that one, you're getting more customers, and two, those customers are getting more value over time. So they stay with you longer so you can get to tens of millions a year in revenue and higher, right? Some of these companies have hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of revenue, and they use growth as a process to do so. Now, there's a lot of different systems you can have within growth. Like I said, there's 8 here. I'm going to go over them really quickly, high level. And there's the exact same systems that we use inside of our masterminds when we work with tech founders to get them to go from 500K or a million or a couple million a year to tens of millions of dollars in revenue. So let's get into it. The first one is reverse engineering. You cannot hit a target that you can't see. Having a blindfold on while you're shooting at something, not great. So what you want to do is not just have a goal, but you want to reverse engineer the goal. So let's say you want 20 customers over the year. Well, how many demos do you need to do to get those customers, and what's your conversion rate on that? How many leads do you need to get to those demos? Mapping all of that out, making sure that it's mapped out in a way that you're getting the leads ahead of time before the demos happen, before your sales cycle happens. That way you can close that revenue consistently is absolutely key. Reverse engineering that is necessary to be able to do that. And we have a process to do so. There's a video, how to scale your company to 10 million. In our channel that you can find, and that'll show you a really good reverse engineering process for it. Now, when you reverse engineer, it's not like you're going to rely on one channel to be able to scale your company. Right? There's these different channels, and these channels operate as like layers almost. You want a base channel that drives some revenue. You want to add another layer to it, add another layer to it. And each layer that you add will multiply exponentially your results. And so reverse engineering is key, and having those layers in there as well, the different channels that you have and how you're going to build them out, the conversion rates you need to hit to be able to hit these goals is absolutely key. So that video will outline that, but feel free to drop a question or reach out to us if you want to learn more. Next, you're going to go into channel analysis. What we found is if a founder doesn't believe that a channel will work for them, they will not put in the effort to make the channel work for them, right? And so there's a TCP process, traffic conversions and product process that we use to measure how well a founder is going to do when expanding his channels and selecting a channel. And so using a process like that will change the way you approach the market. And sometimes it's a belief thing, that's the reason you're not growing, and sometimes it's a mechanics thing. And so you just want to make sure you're putting your money and time in the best place possible. That process will make sure you do so. The next system is a value chain analysis. Being able to break your business down to all of these steps it takes for someone who doesn't know you to get to know you, to sign up for a call, become a customer, get results, rave about the results. All of that needs to be lined up in a step-by-step, interaction-by-interaction process, and that's what a value chain is. And in a value chain, you want to make sure someone inside your company is owning every single piece of that process. Okay, there's no gaps in there, because a lot of time the throughput of a company isn't achieved or increased if there aren't owners to certain steps within that value chain, or if there aren't owners to the handoffs in the value chain as well. So lining that up, amazing for growth of the company, but also reducing costs. Next is the KPI dashboard. If you're not looking at what you're doing once a week and how your team is doing and how to increase certain things, it's almost impossible to grow a company. So the first thing I do when someone comes to me and they say, hey, I want to get to 10 million or a million a month or even higher, the first thing I do is say, okay, well, report to me these numbers every single week, and I can show you the bottlenecks and why you're not able to get there, maybe the systems that you're missing. So having a KPI dashboard. A really simple way to do this is measure how many website hits you're getting, how many leads you're getting, so email submits, or just some indication of interest, how many demos you're getting, and how many sales you're getting every single week. And then we can map out where the bottlenecks are within your system. And like I said, install the right systems to be able to get there. Okay. After that is benchmarking. A lot of founders just do a bunch of stuff and then it doesn't work and then they get frustrated, or they do a bunch of stuff and it works and then it stops working and then they get frustrated. To avoid that, you want to know what your benchmarks are. What are the average rates of conversion, the average rates of leads that you're getting in? What is happening right now? And are you projecting based on what's happening right now? Or are you projecting based on some ideal state? If you're projecting based on some ideal state, it's very hard to hit your numbers. If you're iteratively every month or every quarter updating your benchmarks so that way your projections are accurate to that, you'll get a lot closer to those benchmarks. Okay, after that, you want a proof of concept for predictability. You have your system set up, you have everything lined up, and you're getting a couple sales from a channel. Now you have a proof of concept. And based on that proof of concept, you can create a predictable system around that. Okay, so you want to make sure you get at least 3 sales. The easiest measure for this is you get 30 calls, you make 10 offers, you get 3 sales. Now you have a proof of concept with those conversion rates. Okay, after that is predictability and unit economics. Scaling is great. Making sure you know how much it costs you to acquire a customer is even better. Knowing how much it costs you to acquire a customer that is successful with your product is the best. And so we want to make sure to get that predictability of not just customer acquisition, but retention and that revenue going up consistently so you can hit the tens of millions a year and be that operator, not that manager inside a company. You want to make sure that you have this system. Once you have this system, you're going to operate on scale. People say scale all the time. Scale is a very specific process, and there's a very specific definition of it. If your growth is going up while your costs are going down relative to growth, then you are scaling. And it needs to keep going that way. A lot of VCs, when they see your pitch decks and stuff, they will assess your ability as a founder based on whether or not you believe this is possible within your business, whether or not it shows up in your financial model, whether or not it shows up in the way you speak, in the way you make decisions. So having scale in a structured and rigorous way is absolutely necessary. Those are the 8 subsystems for growth that we put into businesses to get them to go from 500K or a couple million a year to tens of millions, get people to go from managing a company to actually operating a company, building a team of teams under them.